Welcome to the Quick Stop F1 podcast. My name is Nyasha and you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. We appreciate that. Joining me today, as ever, on these things is our producer, Mario. How's it going, Mario?
It's going good. Glad to be here.
Yeah, you must be feeling happy. Your cousins won yet again.
Yes, sir. We don't go all out for sprints.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna go super. Yeah. I'll
Viva
save it for the
México,
GP.
hacer. Viva México.
Así mismo, Cameron. Así
Así le gusta. Olvídate eso.
Yeah. Yeah. My Duolingo ain't stretching.
Duolingo. It expired, huh?
Give me 3 months, my Duolingo. Do you know what I mean? Soy un hombre. Like, I've got that one down to a T. And look,
Perfect.
Thank you. And that dashing gentleman that you heard speaking Spanish there is none other than the wordsmith of F1, Cameron. Yay! How's it going?
It's going good, Nasha, is how it's going. I can't wait to get into this conversation. I've got plenty locked and loaded in the chamber, ready to go, man. I'm here. Let's go. To pod. Nasha.
He's here to pod today. That's what we love to see. And look, what we also love to see is you guys liking and subscribing the video. Make sure you're leaving us a 5-star rating on Spotify, leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you want an ad-free stream, you can hit us up on the Patreon. We also do extra content and merch exclusives. So look, what more could you want? What more could you want from a sprint weekend? They promised us fireworks. Little did we know the fireworks we would get would be once everyone got out of the car. Mario, I'll come to you in a second, but
No, bro.
Cam, I'll set the scene. We have it's the first lap, actually. It's not the safety car. It's the first lap of the race. George Russell manages to get up the inside of Max. And as you can do around the 90-degree turns in Azerbaijan, you can go side by side, one by one, through these corners. And they've had a little bit of a touch. First corner, second corner, a bit more argy-bargy. Max has nearly hit the wall. And in the third corner, they have made contact to the point where George has left a hole in Max Verstappen's car and his sideboard. He's come out of the car. He's not happy. They were complaining on the radio the whole time, and he's obviously come out of the car and he's gone up to George, and of course, as Max Verstappen does, politely asked him, "Hey, what happened there, my friend?" Clearly not asked him in a politely way, but he's obviously gone up to him. What's going on there? George said, "Look, I had no grip," and Max has basically said, all right, well, dismissed that and said, well, next time we'll see what happens. Your thoughts on what seems to have lit the touch paper between Red Bull and Mercedes yet again? This feels like 2021 all over again.
Correct, Nasha. To be precise, Silverstone of 2021, because the incident is very similar that we're about to talk to. Let me just say, yeah, let's go. Going into it now, hot fire. Listen, let me give the FOM and the FIA some props first and foremost, yeah, because the sprint format had a lot in it as far as potential. It did, but it needed tinkering with. Listen, I don't normally, I watch quali, but I'm not going to wake up and plan my day around it. This, Nasha, I was waiting to let off some bombs. Let me off a bomb, please, Nasha, if you've got one. Or some gunshots. Let me have some gunshots, man.
I've got gunshots. Don't worry about that.
Let's go.
We got bombs as well.
Bro, because let's go, because I had bombs and a couple in the chamber for the FOM. If they'd made me organise my day around what turned out to be an SH1T of a sprint qualifying, that was ridiculously good, Nasha. I was glued, as tired as I am. Yeah, there was no sleeping during that from lap 1 to 17. It was nuts. This is what we need, right? This is what we need to keep the drive to survive eyes glued on this sport, because currently, let's be honest, there is a risk of a lot of those eyes moving away if the monotony of another Max Verstappen domination of a championship ensues. This is what we need. Now let's get into the granular, Nasha, of this turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. Let's get into it. So here's how I viewed it, and it's ever so slightly different to you, but I'm happy to defer to your intellectual goatery. Turn 1, George does just enough to keep it up the inside, right? So he sticks it up the inside, and he's put Max offline, not dissimilar to what Lewis did in Brazil 2021. You know, you just need to keep them offline to potentially set up the move into the next turn. Boom, no contact. Turn two, I think, was where the contact happened. That's where ultimately, that was the Silverstone 2021. And initially watching it, I was like, come on, George Russell, let's go. George Russell of Kingsley, Norfolk, put some respect on that chap's name. He is who we thought he was. He will bend the knee to no one, especially not if your name is Max Verstappen. I'm here for that, Nyasha, if we're talking about racing. That's where I thought the contact happened, and that's where George Russell, sadly, after the fact, locked up, just as did Sir Lewis Hamilton at Silverstone Cops 2021. So if we're apportioning blame, got to put some blame on George for just because he locked up, and I'm surprised if the FIA are going to be consistent that they didn't take a closer look at that just because of the lockup. If had there been more damage, I'm sure there would have. But listen, the fat, the juice in this equation, Nyasha, is at turn 3, and Christian Horner pointed it out rightfully, hanging a man out to dry. When you are on the inside on a street circuit, you have inside line privilege, and if on the outside there is a wall, and you are on the outside, as Max Verstappen was, then you need to do one thing. Get out of the loud pedal, sir. That's all that you need to do. If you stay there, bruv, let's go. If you stay there, then obviously you're at the mercy of the guy on the inside. Why are you moaning for? Lest we forget Brazil 2021, where Max Verstappen, turn 4, drove Lewis Hamilton onto another planet.
He drove him to Venezuela, bruv. I don't honestly. What the fuck is going on? Anyway, I'm saying.
Double standard. No, bruv, I'm done. Double standard. God tier levels of and hypocrisy is what we're dealing with here. And then to get onto the altercation afterwards, you know what, Nyasha, I'm here for it, bruv. We needed that, man. We needed that. We needed Max to. We needed Max to be a bit petulant and have a word with George. But you know what I needed more than anything else? Nyasha, George Russell, I'm going to say it again for the avoidance of doubt. George Russell, King George Russell of Kingsley, Norfolk, is who we blood clot thought he was. He will bend the knee to nobody. In his body language alone, you can see he ain't backing down. He's not going to back down on track, and he's not backing down from anybody off track either. Walked clean away from Max as Max was trying to sun him, turned around, and then Max decided to call him a dickhead behind his back because he knew George Russell's a good 6 foot. Yeah, 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2".
He looked like a tower.
Brethren, you're not going to call that to George Russell's face. You're not. You have to wait for him to turn around, and then are going to come the expletives. Love Max as a driver, as I do. I think he's absolutely brilliant. We've had the argument a multitude of times, Nyasha. However, I appreciate in this moment, put some blood clot respect on George Russell's name, because of the way he drove, not backing down, and the way he handled himself in the face of Max Verstappen's petulance after the fact. I'm here for it, Nyasha. Put some blood clot bombs and gunshots on that, man. I'm here for it.
Huh? Don't piss me off. This is Quick Stop F1. You think we ain't come strapped? Piss me off. Mario. Mario, you were texting me during that. You were excited. My phone's blowing up. I'm trying to get it off of Twitter, but my phone's blowing up with Mario. What were your thoughts on that first corner incident? I guess the first lap incident, and I guess, George versus Max.
First off, this is my first time on a podcast with Cameron, and I am terrified because the words that he uses,
it's tough.
I can't match that eloquence. I cannot match that eloquence. What am I?
Pack up a little microphone to go home. Honestly.
Oh my God. Why am I even here? No, but I love the shootout. I just like Cameron said, I was glued. Like everything that was happening on the shootout, I found very interesting. Then we got to the sprint, and we got Max versus George Russell. So one of the messages that I sent you, Nyasha, is because I wasn't familiar with that clip where Max is complaining inside the cooldown room to correct me. It's Lewis, and who else is there?
So I think it's Raikkonen, and do you want me to give a bit of context?
No, absolutely. Go ahead.
So for those who don't know, I think it's a 2018 Brazil Grand Prix. Max Verstappen is a cut above the rest of the field. This guy has gone. Is it 2018?
Which one? You took about the wet one?
No, 2018 is when he's won. When did Ocon go into him? Was that 2017?
I think it is 18, brother. We'll look it up very quickly.
Look up for me, please. But anyway, there's
2018 Brazilian Grand Prix.
Is it 2018? Yes, it was. Because you know, I was confusing it with 2019 when Max.
Oh
and
my
Lewis
God! There's two clashes. There's two clashes.
So Max Verstappen is in a league of his own in the front of the field. He's won. Like he's gone. Esteban Ocon is on some fresh tyres. He's come out the pit and he goes to unlap himself at the first chicane in Brazil. Tries to go around the outside. Max starts racing this guy for reasons unbeknownst to everyone. No one knows why he's doing it. And what happens is they both spin. Lewis comes through and he ends up winning the race. This is quite late on in the race as well, as you can imagine, with people being lapped. In the cool down room, Max is pissed off and they're showing the race on the screens and
the replay.
The replay. Thank you. And Max is like, he's moaning about it to Raikkonen. Raikkonen's like,
to Lewis, bro.
Even Raikkonen blew him off pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's like, what happened there? And and Max is like, oh, this guy, he's trying to unlap me. And Lewis is like, well, he's not doing anything crazy there. Well, Max is like, well, you can't just unlap the leader. And Lewis says to Max Verstappen, and I'll never forget this day because there's been a couple times where Lewis he's tried to talk to a man and a man's not listened. Lewis said to Max, he said, "Yeah, but you had more to lose than he did in that situation." Huh? Back out! Back out! He cannot, Max, I'm telling you now, if Max was like a serial player in these streets, he would have bare kids on road because he never pulls out. Never, not once. Always leaving it in. This guy, my guy, all you've got to do is back out. And this is the same thing here this weekend. And so Mario, that was the clip that you were talking to me about.
So that clip is all I had to see with regards to like, bro, imagine whether you want to call Lewis a GOAT or not. Imagine a champion of the sport gives you a free lesson. Because that's an amazing lesson. Be aware of how much you have to lose. Be aware of how much they have to lose. Make a decision. Bro, that is a fucking life-changing lesson, whether it's in driving or whether it's in anything. And this man is blessing you with a free lesson. And you could still hear, I talk a lot. I talk positively about Max as a racer, just like Cameron says. But like, I have never seen a more petulant Max Verstappen than when Lewis Hamilton is giving you an actual, genuine lesson that will make you better. And Lewis Hamilton is a champion, and Max Verstappen, you could still hear him. No, but, dude, shut the fuck up and listen. And that clip, I love that clip, man. As someone who's less experienced as you guys are with F1, I had not seen that clip, and I think that's an amazing clip and says a lot about Max because here we are today. Talking about the same shit.
It is chaos. Can I play devils for a second then? Nyasha?
Of course, that's why you're here. Compulsory
bit of devil's advocation. So I would say this to that point that Mario's just made. I think Max Verstappen did take heed. And here's how we know he did take heed, right? Brazil 2022, the way that he interacted, and again, automotive terrorism, but the way that he interacted with Lewis, that you could hear in Max Verstappen's helmet on that occasion, him relaying the same tidbit, that same counsel back to Lewis Hamilton in that moment. I think he has taken heed and he has learned. I would argue today.
I would even say
he is a more patient driver. For sure, he's more patient.
I would say, Cam, that if we were going to go deeper on that, let's say I'm doing some fanfic, I would even argue that that was almost like retributionary.
Yeah, you're right.
Like
you're right.
rather than
on the same turn.
On the
that
same
happens
turn.
with Ocon.
Yeah, and so you're gonna tell me about having something to lose on this
Remember.
turn. I'm gonna show you what and he took away potentially Lewis's only
race
chance
victory.
to win
Yeah,
that season,
absolutely.
basically.
Yeah,
so
no, he
I like where you're
learned.
going with that.
But not necessarily in the best way. If you're going to focus on the incident again, initially I agreed with both of you that he should have backed out. And with George, if you're playing the probabilities right, you back out there 100 times out of 100. But Max is Max, right? And he can't moth to a flame in them circumstance. He's entitled and he's hyper aggressive. He's never going to back out of that ever in life. And if we're playing it absolutely by the book, absolutely 100% by the book, and using Silverstone as a precedent, just by virtue of the fact that George locked up, even temporarily, for a millisecond, it wasn't a big lockup, but ultimately George lost control of the car temporarily, and that's what caused what caused the love kiss, and that's what caused the big bloody shark jaw bite out of Max Verstappen's side pod, which made it look a little bit worse than it was.
But Christian was like, we might have lost 3/4 of a second.
Did you hear him? That sounded mad. He always bigs that up.
I was like, Christian, brother, come on, man. This is how you.
I was going to say, I tell you what was interesting though, Nyasha. When Christian broke it down, I was fascinated by the fact that turn 3 was his point of contention, right? The hanging out to dry, the turn 4 Brazil, what Max did to Lewis, the overcrowding rather than the contact. Quite surprised me that. He didn't really care. He didn't care for the bite, did he?
Do you know what, though? A couple of things. One, I will just correct you and say Lewis didn't lock up into cops. He just didn't. He went into the apex and he basically didn't hit the apex, and he's like, he didn't leave enough room.
I think there was a small
was there
lock
a tiny
up,
lockup?
like a tiny.
Okay,
that's why they gave him the
play.
penalty.
All right, fair play. But like, what I would say, there are a lot of examples where someone has gone into a corner, they've locked up, and then they've understeered essentially into an opponent, and then it's led to a penalty. I guess there's that whole thing of if something's on the first lap, they try to let it go. Yeah. But in most circumstances, yes, if you lock up and you go into someone, normally it's a penalty. But I think first lap they're going to give him that. What I would say is, for me, this whole discussion about whether this whole thing about Max maturing, I think Max has matured, but people will always revert to type. I think we were talking off air about what Damon Hill said about Michael Schumacher.
Chaos, bruv.
And well, because you know what? Yeah, if Lewis ever got into punditry, actually, you know what? A good example is Nico Rosberg. When he got into punditry, he always used to say, "Go back and watch old races." He'd always used to say, "You cannot overtake Max Verstappen round the outside. Max Verstappen is a terrorist. Is that and the other." He was still scarred by the blows left on him by Max Verstappen, even when he was doing punditry. And Damon Hill will never, ever leave an opportunity to just get a slight little, just a slight, when in boxing, when you're in the clinch, you just get a back, little jab at Michael Schumacher. He will never let up. But Max might mature, and we have seen a maturation in Max in terms of there's situations where he has backed out, well, not backed out, or he hasn't gone forth. Or I can imagine, the battles with Charles Leclerc when they were going back and forth, last season kind of showed a kind of step up in when he learned what Charles done. I think by the time he got to Miami, he kind of like navigated that, and he didn't fall for it. But the genetic makeup and DNA of this man, he will not have it. And if someone is sticking it on him when he thinks when he thinks he shouldn't be stuck on, let's be honest, there's not been many occasions where Max Verstappen has had to be passed in the last 2 seasons because of the car differentials, especially off the line, because he's normally starting in pole. If he's not in pole, it's Checo. There's not that inter-team kind of first corner incident. Today showed his natural self came to the fore, and he did not like it. And just like Michael Schumacher didn't like it when someone stuck it on him, or when he had something to lose,
when he was being chased down.
When he was being chased down, Michael Schumacher did it, at the time, in 97, for those who don't know, go and watch 1997 Jerez Championship Decider. You know, sometimes there's people on Twitter who will be like, Schumacher's the king, Schumacher's the king. And they never talk about the fact a man got disqualified for a whole championship for deliberately driving into a man's barge board. And you know what he said afterwards? Watch the Schumacher documentary. Oh man, I just went blind. I don't even remember doing that.
I did. He thought he was in the right.
No, he thought he was in the right.
You hit the wrong part, Michael.
You hit the wrong part, Michael. Martin Brundle, another one who won't ever hesitate. Just get a little jab.
Get some in. But you know what, Nasha? To that point, bruv, I remember at the time, there was this, especially before he won his 4, like let's say 96, 94 to 99, let's say, there was a feeling that Michael was get-attable. That's why I hear what you're saying. Damon will keep fighting, by the way, as well, Michael, but Damon will never miss an opportunity to talk about that incident, because I think he's onto something, bruv. I think this is the first time, I know a lot of people have said, listen, Max is a front runner and we've yet to see how he responds in kind in the face of adversity. And I always thought that was a little bit harsh. But I think this is the first time when I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe there is something in that, particularly not because of the incident necessarily, just because when Damon gave the Michael Schumacher comparison, I was like, you know what? I remembered that was a thing. And proof positive of that being a thing was Michael Schumacher ultimately making that mistake, was in the lead at Adelaide in the season finale in 1994. People had said it before, and even Jerez 97 is an incident and another example of that. But I don't know, bruv. I don't know. I'm buzzing anyway, man. I'm going to shut up because I'm gassed off that sprint qualifying thing. It was mad. Too mad.
Mario.
Let me just say, because I have the perfect segue, because you guys mentioned 97. I mentioned I had a few fun facts. One of them is that...
Whoa, don't you dare. Don't you dare.
No. It's just one quick thing.
Is this the 3 facts, or is this...
No, I'm just going to go 1 because it's very relevant to 97. And you guys were talking about 97. Yeah. No, I think it was during quali, we saw Max and Charles tie their times to 3-0s, and that was crazy to me. So I looked, because they mentioned it briefly, but then
Jacques, Frentzen, Jacques, and Schumacher did it in 1997.
So it was Villeneuve, Schumacher, and Frentzen. They tied exactly to 3-0, but that one was their last laps. So the way that they handed out placement was literally who did the lap first, second, and third. That's an insane. The probabilities are
it's crazy, right? Especially if that one was like for a title decider as well. Like imagine if like Abu Dhabi, Lewis and Max done like the same fucking time. Like that's how crazy Jerez was. Like that was probably like my second full season watching Formula One. So I was just
that's awesome.
That was my
fucking hell.
Before we bury the lead, lads, can I ask you both a question? Because this is quite important. Let's talk about the post-race thing, man, because that is important, right? What do you think of the way Max behaved himself, Nasha, as far as approaching George, asking George the question? Because I feel like Max has every right to be aggrieved. He had the hole in his car and that would have impacted him. The car wasn't as fast as it would have been, minus the damage, etc. What do you think of the interaction and some of the words that were said, Nasha?
I'm going to play a little soundbite.
I knew it. I'm going to bet my life on it.
Oh my God! Guys, I thought this was a classy party. This is F1. This is the pinnacle of motorsport. This guy can't stop showing his ass. I'm sick of him. Honestly, oh my God, again, that same race in Brazil. Mario, you might not know, that's the clip of him pushing around the Verstappen Ocon in the garage. That's him fighting with a man. When was that? 5 years ago. You would have thought by now he would have grown up. Bruv, there are cameras everywhere. There's literally a camera in your face. Bro, and George has, and the thing is, and George has said, very, I'm going to just read it because I've got it here. So for those who don't know, after the race, Max has gone up to George when George has still got his helmet on, and Max has gone.
I want to repeat. George looks like a fucking tower next to Max Verstappen with his helmet on, and they're having that conversation.
Yeah, it's a madness. It is a madness. Yeah. So George says, I had no grip. Probably sorry, I had no grip. Max says, well, mate, we all have no grip. We all need to give a little bit of space. George said, I know, and then walks off. And then Max says, but expect it next time the same,
Wow.
And then under his breath, he calls him a dickhead. Now, let me tell you now.
Wow.
I think there was some discussion on here before, about like how severe a swear word is dickhead, and I don't know, like maybe like in America it's not as strong. Let me tell you now, dickhead, is like you can't call a man a dickhead to his face. Like that is not like it's one of my favorite swear words. Like it's one of that you can say. Like dickhead and prick are like my favorites, two swear words behind the C word that you can say, and like no one's like C word is like ridiculous, but them two words perfect for what you need to do. So apparently someone called George Darth Paddington, which is hilarious.
You know what? I'm not even having that today, Nash. I'm not on the back of the way he raced. Put some blood respect on GR63's name.
So what I would say about it is Max is like Mario, you were saying, before we came on, you have the heat of battle, you have the way that you're pumped up, you've got adrenaline. Obviously he's in a world championship fight, he's lost a couple points to Sergio Perez now. It's just him and Perez, and we've seen this season, Max, how Max has reacted in a title fight with his teammates, something he's not had before. We saw how he reacted in, I want to say, was it Bahrain or Saudi? I think maybe when he went for the fastest lap. He went for the fastest lap, and he was saying like, "Well, I'm in a title fight with my teammate." Like these guys. I think that's when his car got
his engineers. His engineers said to slow down. They were having the discussion about the fastest lap, and his engineers said, "We're not concerned with that." And Max said, "I'm concerned with that."
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, and then goes on to get.
He goes on and does it, and then post race conference, he's saying, "Well, I'm gonna, he's shouting at the team for fucking up his car for qualifying. This isn't good enough."
Mad. That's mad.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like Max, I said this to you so many times, Cameron. I've said it so many times. This man in a pressure cooker does not have it, bruv. He doesn't have it. And he showed it in 21, and he didn't get to show it last year because everything was fucking hunky-dory. But this season, it is coming out every now and then, and I think we need to observe that, because I think that's not the sign of a man who has it all together. To call someone a dickhead as they're walking off and say, "Oh, expect the same next time," for me, that's immature. I think that's not how I would expect my driver of my team representing my team.
I agree with that.
What do you think about it?
No, I've been disappointed a couple of times with Max this season. I think the most disappointing time, even with today's instance included, was the slandering of the team, man. They've given this chap everything, a rocket ship of a car, a DRS that adds 6% more than any other team on the grid to your top end maximal velocity. FFS, Max. You can't just show a little bit of gratitude towards the team upon whose shoulders you stand on. Like, what are we doing? Like, show a little bit of gratitude. So again, I was particularly disappointed again today by some of the language and the protestation. But here's what it is with Max, chaps. I think Max, when you'll see Max, because we've seen it, I've seen him manage times of extreme, Brazil 2021, when Lewis was closing him in a car that's just quicker. And again, we're talking championship times. If you listen to him in the car, in his communications with the pit radio, with the guys on the pit wall, bruv, ice cool. I think people, it's nuanced, this, Nasha, and I think people misconstrue by saying he doesn't respond well to pressure. It's not pressure. It's not blanket pressure. It's a particular type of pressure. Here's where he's going to get pissed off and start effing and blinding the car. If he loses because of a perceived technical fault with the car, like today, for example, in his mind, he's lost because of that big bloody Jaws bite out the car. That's why he's lost. And so he's fuming. That was his race in his mind to win. No way Checo beats him in equal machinery, even around the street circuit like Baku. That's how Max Verstappen is thinking. So he's like, he's going to lash out at the dude that caused the problem, that caused him to lose the race in his own mind. Because again, Damon said it, had it absolutely right. The greatest drivers that we've ever seen, it's never their fault. Never their fault. It can't be, because I'm the best driver in the world, and in equal machinery, I'm going to win a race. So I think if we view, not to excuse some of the fuckery that Max comes out with, but if you view all of the rants and the rages, in this framework, through this lens, it makes more sense, right? He lost the race today because of George in his own mind, and all of the rest be damned. That's how he's thinking.
Some of them.
I have a Max take.
Go.
When he started, when was the first year he started? Not the first year exactly, but when he started in Red Bull, it was Danny Rick and him, right? How long until it was, or it was Kvyat?
He replaced Kvyat.
Yeah.
He replaced Kvyat, exactly. So he goes into Red Bull. How long until people are saying this kid's it? Like, how long until he's regarded, not regarded higher than Danny Rick?
Yeah,
before.
Yeah.
Right? So he comes into Red Bull basically as a prodigy, right?
Yeah.
Everybody walks on eggshells around him. That we got to protect our baby. He doesn't get much competition from Danny Rick. He establishes himself as Red Bull #1. Then fast forward to now, he's got actual competition from his teammate. I think he has like
cool.
I think he has first kid syndrome.
Mario,
the points don't lie. The points don't lie.
Cuídate,
The points.
Oh,
he's in a championship fight. He's in a championship fight with his teammate.
Oh, Mario, we were doing so well, Mario. We were going so good until that last stanza. It's a bit premature. I see where you're going with it, Mario. And again, you have to Viva Mexico, Viva la Lasa, all of that stuff. I see where you're going with that, Mario. But you
no. Max
it's a bit
is much
ambitious.
better than Checo. Max is much better than Checo. But the numbers say that he is competing with his teammate right now. And I think he's got first child syndrome, where like, now there's another kid in my house, and I am not getting 100% of the attention, of the love, of the, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I think some of his frustration comes from that.
I think you're there, you're in the ballpark, but you're playing tennis.
Thank you. Okay.
No,
I showed up to the field with a tennis racket. Okay.
Yeah, you're there. Like, let's play ball, and we're like, that is not. No, I think what I would say is you're right, and I think that's what I think we're saying the same thing in different ways. In that, in this inter-team battle, he knows, I think what he intimated in Saudi, that it's him or Checo that's going to win the title. And in his mind, every point, obviously it's going to be him, but every point matters. And the only times that he has really lost points to Checo is when there's been a fuck up out of his own control, right? So the car gets fucked in quali in Saudi, and he has to come through the field.
Exactly.
And then obviously today with George, he's on first corner, and he gets his car damaged in an incident where the person could have done better. So I would say, mute yourself, whoever's typing. So what I would say is that that he is not willing to lose shitty points, but what needs to come from that is a sense of humility, a sense of teamwork, and a sense of like, bro, have some self-respect, bro. You look like an idiot. Like, I'm sorry.
Doesn't care, Nasha?
I know he doesn't care. I know, and that's the thing about Max. Max fans love him because he doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit.
Care.
He is a brat, and he will always be a brat, and that's fine. But for me, you know what? We all have our drink of choice, okay? And Max is like a cheap bottle of cider, and that is not for me. That is not for me personally. But other people would like that, and those are my thoughts on what I will say is, if we're going to talk about that, his fucking boss and how much Christian Horner. Mario, you mentioned he's been brought up. He's a prodigy. Cam, you said he's been given everything by the team. Christian Horner today, in his interview with Sky Sports, Russell was lucky that he had his helmet on when he was talking to Max. He was understandably annoyed with that and voiced his opinion to George. It was probably good that he left his crash helmet on. Now, obviously, that's tongue in cheek, but this team, from the radio message saying, "Oh, well done, Max, you managed to get through without contact," and then this guy saying, "Yeah, I know how to do that."
Chaos.
You're a liar. What? And then you've got afterwards, all of these got the whole team, top to bottom. You've got a sassy mechanic who's going around blocking people on Twitter for no reason, starting fights with teenagers. You've got a team boss who seems to absolutely mollycoddle and enable this guy to act and do however he pleases. You've got a driver that seems to do whatever he does. The whole team is in this bubble of, well, that's just who Red Bull are now. And I just don't think, I
think that's the example Horner sets from the top.
A fish stinks from the head down, right? It's techie, Nyasha. You right, bruv. I'm there, right with you, man. But
you like it though.
I respect
the results, man.
Bang! You see it there, Mario? I respect.
You gotta respect the results.
I respect a chap's ability to squeeze positive outcomes where many other team principals wouldn't be able to. That's what I respect. And every time I see him, okay, so is he? It's borderline what he said there about he's tongue in cheek, but what you're talking about there at root is violence, right? And you shouldn't be doing that as a team principal because you're in a high profile enough position to where that's kind of bringing the sport into disrepute. So I see the counter argument, but all he cares about, bro, the start and the finish of it is 25 points on a race weekend for Max and then flipping 18 for Checo. That's all that he's concerned with, bro. None of the other things. He's not shackled by the board responsibility and managing shareholder expectations like Toto Wolff. All he cares about is 25 plus 18, every single plus 8 again, and plus 7 on a sprint weekend. That's all that he gives a fudge about. And in that sense, Nyasha, deep down, what's worse, deep down, you will never say it, bruv, because you're not allowed to, man. You can't. Deep down, I know, looking into your beautiful eyes, that you respect it also, Nyasha. As a long time grizzled F1 scribe, you respect it also because you were there, bruv, for Frank Williams. You seen them things there and the Labatt's flipping Williams and FW14B. You've seen it, man, and you were there and you're experienced enough. Get Ron Dennis, all them type of man there, and Ross Brawn and Jean Todt in his pumps. You've seen it and you understand what it takes to do what Christian Horner's doing. So deep down, Nyasha, I understand your position. You'll never be able to fess to it. But deep down, I know you as my brother, and game recognises game.
I got Nyasha to admit on one positive thing about Christian Horner. And I sent him a bunch of pictures and I told him, this man is a short king because he stands next to people much taller than him. And the man exudes confidence.
Oof.
And that's remarkable. The man stands with confidence next to people towering over him. And Nyasha was like, that's true. That's true.
Look, my views on Christian Horner are that, look, I think I've said on this podcast before, and I think I've said to you, Cam, that Red Bull were the plucky underdogs. You have to remember that. Red Bull came in and no one, look, Cam, as you famously know, everyone was calling Red Bull an energy team. And obviously, some of those comments have not aged well. But we won't get into that. But that was the thought around the time from everyone, and I think that was the context that people wanted. So, I think what I would say is, and look, I was the same. The fucking energy drinks thing, they're gonna do shit. Fucking
Me too.
We've got Lewis Hamilton in a fucking McLaren. They've got fucking. They've got Ferrari. We've got Fernando Alonso in a fucking Ferrari. Like, how the fuck is his energy drinks team with a fucking German kid gonna do fuck all? Like, no one thought they would do what they were gonna do, and they were these underdogs that suddenly, with Adrian Newey, just fucking created an absolute bazooka of a car, and they were fun. They brought the pool party to Monaco. The way that they were doing their marketing was really different and fun. Naughty's Red Bull, like Naughty's and fucking 10's Red Bull, as a company, like, did some crazy fucking shit, and the Red Bull F1 team were part of that. And Christian Horner is this young team principal taking on the likes of Martin Whitmarsh, Ron Dennis, Jean Todt, all these people. Like, that was not Jean Todt at that time, but taking on the might of Ferrari. That was a big fucking thing. So I did respect Christian. I'll be honest, I didn't even really notice Christian Horner until it's my respect for Christian Horner when he started turning into the guy who would report any new Mercedes part. Like, any new Mercedes part, it was going straight to the FIA.
But what do you do, Nyasha?
Let me finish. And he would brag about that. And of course, you've got to do that. But it was annoying. I let that off. Where it really went downhill, and I do think where Red Bull kind of turned for me was Silverstone 21. And I do think that's when I started to notice, with Max and Christian.
Give some context.
21 Silverstone, obviously the crash between Max and Lewis at Copse Corner, in arguably, I would say, the greatest first corner sequence between two drivers ever. If you've never watched it, go and search Silverstone 21. The commentary from Brundle and Crofty has not been topped. The racing, I don't think has been topped in terms of first corner race. The Silverstone overhang with the wire camera. Incredible scenes. It's such a shame they didn't make it down the straight. Oh my God. Like, that would have been incredible. So what I was saying was that he stoked a lot of fires that shouldn't have been stoked that day. And it was almost like that was the day Red Bull decided to turn into a team that were happy to, the pantomime villains, as it were. But I think the way that they were pantomime villains, I think, overstepped the lines in terms of what it incited for Lewis Hamilton and the lack of accountability on their side. And I think, for me, I can get it. You're a pure racer. For you, it's all about the wins. I get that, and I do understand. I wouldn't want to be supporting a team that acted the way Red Bull have acted since 21. I really wouldn't. And it doesn't sit right with me personally. I can't. As a man, I can't. As a fan, I might be able to hold my fans up and be like, okay, cool. But as a man, I can't abide by that, bro. I'm sorry. I can't.
Oh,
and I'm not saying you're a lesser man. Oh, no, but
Nasha.
But as a man, I can't do that.
Bro, it's chaos, man. Where's the cheeky jingle? Hello, darkness, my old friend. Because this subject won't go away. Nasha, I don't disagree with anything that you said, but I think you're pointing your lens is pointed at the wrong thing, right? Your principal point of contention with Silverstone 2021 is the after, the effect and not the cause. But I think you're muddying the waters here and conflating the two issues. Yes, Christian Horner said some madness, but I would expect if I were Max Verstappen and I were in the hospital and Lewis Hamilton is round here celebrating,
he was fine. Oh my God.
Let me finish. He was fine. He was fine. There was no serious damage, but nevertheless, it was a serious incident and he might not have been fine. So as team principal of Red Bull, I'm going to get on my speaker box and I'm going to say some reckless-ish to know that my driver, my head honcho in Max Verstappen, knows that we're going to war now. This is what it is, and I am backing you 100%. I'm seeing Lewis celebrating. I'm going to call out that, of course I am. I am going to call out that. Now, I don't know, as team principal of Red Bull, that at that time that's going to lead to some serious racial hatred. I don't know that. I'm not responsible for that as Christian Horner. That's not me. I didn't say that shit. Don't hold me to account and put my feet to the fire there for what somebody else went and blood clot said. So Nyasha, I think you misdirect your ire at the cause rather than the effect. You're pissed off about the racial hatred that came after what Chris, it's deep, and it's deep. You took me there. You took me there. I'm here to pod, Nyasha. I'm here to pod. I think you misdirect your ire and your point of contention at the effect rather than the cause.
I didn't say anything,
bro. If you choose,
do we want to get into it? Because we can.
No, we're all right, man. I've said my piece. We can move on nicely. We're here now.
I'll be here for moderation. I'll moderate.
We're here now, Nyasha. But I think if you're honest, I don't think you'll disagree with what I said there. The principal point of your...
Well, I don't disagree with the fact that, and I think this is something that Mario, you've seen, Cam, you've seen, I think everyone's seen online. We've seen recently Mercedes fans saying, we wish, if Christian Horner was Mercedes team principal, or if Abu Dhabi 21 had happened to Max Verstappen, Christian Horner would have taken the FIA to task a lot more rigorously. Yeah, exactly.
Burnt
right?
it all.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? He would have a scorched earth policy. They would have. It would not have. The people don't think that Toto Wolff defended Lewis. They think he's out partying. He's letting his hair down. When I've seen that. I've argued with people who have said that. So for me, I don't disagree with your notion that Christian Horner is a guy who will defend his drivers to the hill, and he will do that at the expense of any approval ratings from anyone outside of the Red Bull camp and Max Verstappen fans, and he will do that without any recourse really for the consequences of that. What I would say is, in that position of power, I think you have to know that words have meanings, and I knew from the moment he implied that Lewis could have murdered him, and he left a wheel in, and that in the way that season was going, that was going to end up in what maybe he didn't know about the racial side of things, but he knew that was going to start a civil war in F1 because of how heated his was. Instead of taking the heat out of the situation, which I think could have happened while still defending his driver, I think he just fucking pissed gasoline all over it, and I think it's the subtleties and things. And I think I talked to you about sleight of hand. Christian doesn't have sleight of hand when he talks, and it's very sledgehammer. And that's some people's cup of tea. It's not mine. Look, let's move on because quickly.
I was just going to say, finally. Yeah. I would want my team principal in that circumstance to be able to put down the sleight of hand there. The gift is to not have sleight of hand, because only a couple of races later, or one race later even at Monza, I would mortally wounded, mortally being the pertinent word, and very disappointed when Max Verstappen parked his car on Lewis Hamilton's head, which could have led to all sorts of serious life-threatening injury. True or false?
True.
Toto's response was, and I quote, "We will abide by whatever the officials decide." There is your chalk and cheese reaction. If I'm Lewis Hamilton, on the back of what happened at Silverstone, and I hear my team principal being so laissez-faire and nonchalant and polite in his reaction to an incident that might have taken my life, I, as Lewis Hamilton, would have had a problem, bruv. I'll tell you that much from now. Tell you that much. Christian Horner over Toto Wolff every single day of the week, big man.
Question. Christian Horner, was he more or less? Was Christian Horner the same Christian Horner as always when he was winning with Vettel? Or is he being more Christian Hornery when he's winning with Max?
Didn't need to be, Mario. Didn't need to be.
Because of dominance?
Because of dominance. And Vettel was a menace, but he was a menace to his teammate.
Bang,
the Christian had to diffuse that situation more often than not. And to be fair, Christian treated Vettel the same way he treats Verstappen in that.
This is true.
could have done no wrong in Christian Horner's eyes. So really and truly, yes, but it's a different thing because the inter-team battle, Vettel never, I can't remember any like head-on collisions that Vettel and Alonso had off the top of my head. Anyway, it never really felt like they were in the same piece of tarmac that much in 2012.
This is true.
To be honest, 2012 is like, it was exciting, but it was a very random. Like McLaren were quick as well, and Lewis won
about
races,
6 of them.
won races. There were so many people who could have won the title in the end. But anyway, look, that's neither here nor there. Mario, we were talking earlier. Let's get off Red Bull. These motherfuckers. Let's also shout out. I put like, what should we talk about in this thing? And there's like one guy who I'm so close to blocking. I think I've even like muted them on here on YouTube, but they said they're always like, why don't you say nice things about Max? And then today they were like, I was like, what are we going to talk about today? And they're like, I bet you're going to talk about George and Max. Like, we're an F1 podcast, brother. How
could we not?
Like, what do you want me to talk about? Like, I don't know what you want me to do. That is the topic of the day. But look, Mario, Checo Perez has won. We've got to give him some props. We've got to give him some shine.
Absolutely.
Because he has... I mocked his title of...
Oh, I saw the tweets.
It's premature.
What
But
did you say?
I said that Checo Perez just gets given titles willy-nilly. I mean, he's got the Mexican Minister of Defense after 3 races. he's got the fucking king of the streets or whatever, like street king, whatever, like for his street races. But yet again, he has won around the streets of Baku, obviously this time in a sprint race, so it doesn't quite qualify as a repeat winner. But I mean... He's done the business again. He done the job that he needed to do, same way that he did in 21 when he was it 21 when he won in the end?
I think so.
Yeah, when Lewis had the brake magic. What I guess, what are your thoughts on Checo? Obviously he's in the title fight. He did what he needed to do today. That little period where he kind of kept Charles at bay and then sped off into the distance was the tire whisperer.
The tire whisperer, isn't that Lewis?
No, well, they should
be,
but Checo.
Albon got it. Albon got a tire whisperer too.
Was Albon first?
I think
not first.
I think I first heard the tire whisperer when Albon did the 57 laps on one set of tires.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think that was after Checo.
Fair play.
Checo got it from the Racing Point days.
Fair.
So yeah, what are your thoughts on Checo's performance today?
I think Checo is being very consistent, which is what he needs to be. I was not surprised, but like his onboard radio when he wins, I very passive, very like not super excited or anything, which is interesting to me. I was impressed that there was a moment when Charles was first, Checo was second, and Verstappen was third, and both Checo and Max set new laps, and Checo just improved his at second, and Max couldn't get to him at second. So you could see at least, there was, when was this? No, this was qualifying, so there wasn't damage yet. So I don't know what it is about Checo in street circuits, but I wish he had this kind of confidence in every circuit.
Can I go, Nyasha?
Of course.
Thank you. Appreciate you as always.
See, you can. Discussions with your friends afterwards.
I hate your guts. No, so to Checo always he's a rear-ended guy, and I don't mean that in that sense. Yeah, he just likes tracks where there's a lot of time to gain around slow hairpin turns and the ability to get on the accelerator after those slow hairpin turns. It's always going to be the Monacos, the Singapore, the Bakus. Like that's him, and you always see him go well around here. I tell you what though, a point of concern for tomorrow from a Checo Perez fan, that bloody hole in Max Verstappen's car. I'm tempted to find myself at the bookies between now and tomorrow and put a cheeky couple of quid on Max Verstappen turning that around and taking 25 points, because I think he's I think that he could keep so close to Checo with a hole in his side pod.
Yeah.
Doesn't bode well. And again, without that information, it was a spectacular performance from Checo. Did exactly what he needed to do. Handled Charlie Leclerc like a boss. Absolutely utilised DRS like you'd expect him to. But then the fact you see that hole and you see the gap between the two of them at the end, and you're just like, oh, Checo, no bueno. Mañana para la mañana, no bueno, Checo. It's not gonna be great for him, I don't think.
No.
Not going to be great for him. Still a brilliant driver, though, and the best number 2 on the grid. I'll give him that. And Nyasha, put some respect on Checo's name for a second. How dare you try and retract very well-earned Mexican Minister of Defense titles? How very dare you, Nyasha? Do we not remember? Are we going to have short memories on this thing? Are we going to have short memories today, Nyasha?
I remember.
Abu Dhabi 21, we remember.
I remember. Look, all I'm saying is it was 3 races. It was
That's
3
all
races.
that it need. You didn't
Turkey,
need any more than that.
Brazil, Abu Dhabi, and now all of a sudden I'm hearing it 2 years later.
Bro.
Be Mexican Minister of Defense against your teammate, bro. Then we'll see.
Okay,
That's all I've got to say.
I hear that criticism.
That'd be great to see anyway.
I hear that criticism. But as a man, Nyasha, as a man who would have killed to see Valtteri Bottas in 2021 do something similar, bruv. Let's not do that, man. Put some respect on Checo Perez' name.
If you're inviting me to the Valtteri Bottas cookout, I'm coming through with steak, sausages, chicken, fish, seafood. I'll come through with the fucking grill and the charcoal myself. Don't worry about that.
You had one job. Don't open the door. Don't open the door. Fridge empty. Everything was gone.
I don't think I've ever been more pissed off than Mexico 21.
It's the best analogy that I've ever heard, brother. It was proven. Credit.
So look, yeah, no, I think Checo. Look, I think Mario, you're right. I think it was passive. They always are a bit passive after sprint races. They never really go for like other than George, obviously, because George will take anything he gets. But I think for the people, the more experienced people, I think the ones who have won multiple races.
Yeah.
And I think they look at the sprint race like it's not really a win. Like I'll take it, but it's
I got you. More like a gimmick then.
Yeah. So I think that's why maybe he wasn't so like pumped at the end, but. I'm with Cam. He's starting behind Perez. No, so Perez is starting behind Max.
Shoot! It's that. Yeah, mate. I've forgotten the bloody things again.
Yeah, Friday
I'm still
qualifying.
on. Yeah, I'm still on. Yeah, this is true.
You're right.
So Charles is in pole with Max is second. Like, honest to God.
Fun fact number 2.
Let's go.
So you split them up. That's why I can't.
This is Leclerc's 3rd consecutive pole in Baku. So he's started from first 3 times. He's led a total of 1 lap each time.
Oh my God. What?
Okay, so he starts in first, leads for a lap, starts in first the next year, leads for 1 lap. And based on what we saw today with the pace that Perez and Max had, I don't see the Ferraris lasting longer than 15 laps tomorrow.
Wow.
Done it.
He got it in the 30-second countdown.
He got it in.
Let's go.
No, but seriously, that's crazy. That's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, look, Charles's pole to win conversion is
Not great.
Not great.
No bueno. No bueno.
But that's one of those times. I think Cam, I've said this to you a million times. So you can show me stats, but stats of our context is very misleading. So Ferrari always seemed to be quick over 1 lap. We saw it last season. We've seen it this season. Their ability to hold on to their tyres in comparison to Red Bull is not good at all. And even Charles knows he is not winning that race unless something ridiculous happens tomorrow. So, that conversion rate is not going to get any higher at all. Which is a shame. But also, I don't know, when did we start looking at pole to win conversions? It used to be a great thing that you got on pole. Pole position was the marker of a fucking fast driver.
A bad man.
Some would say that pole position is the true marker of who is the fastest driver in the sport. So for me, Charles Leclerc.
You heard Karun today. Did you hear what Karun said? He said, in equal machinery, I'm not trying to hear what Karun's got to say. He said, in equal machinery, of all of the 20 of them on the grid currently, He reckons Charles Leclerc would boss case if it was 1 lap quali. He reckons he's the quickest guy, and I don't think he's a million miles away there, man. In that sense, put some respect on Charles Leclerc's name. Yeah, he's rapid.
I'm contractually obligated to say this, obviously, but what I would say is that I've always said this: Charles Leclerc over 1 lap is insane. We've seen those clips of him nearly brushing the wall on his lap yesterday. Like, he will put it on the limit. He will go over the limit, but he will put it on the limit. So tomorrow, we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm not hopeful. I'm not hopeful for Charles. I'm not hopeful for Checo unless he can get ahead of Max. And we'll see. But a pissed off Max Verstappen starting on second, I think Max might even jump Leclerc at the start, to be honest. If he doesn't,
I think so.
If he doesn't, then he's going to be ahead by lap 3 once DRS comes on.
Standard.
The DRS is too much, and he's going to be within DRS
6%,
range.
man. That DRS is far too powerful. 6% on top of your maximum velocity. That is chaos, especially when versus the rest who were like circa 5.2 or whatever. Nash, a question I was going to ask you since you bring it up on Charles' start. What did you reckon of his start angling away from Max? What did you make of that, bruv?
I would be able to give you a better answer if I could remember what actually... Well, he got a better start than Max in the end. So
yes, right. So, but you know how normally Max would never do that. Max would always angle. So there's a couple of things, right? Max would always angle towards the second place guy to close them off, right? Because the priority is, of course, getting into turn 1 in first place. I thought it was interesting on the formation lap even that we saw Charles angle away to widen the angle. All he's thinking about is the angle of attacking to turn 1. I thought it was interesting, man. It worked out well for him.
Yeah, I think it works. I think because a lot of people though normally would. Oh my god! Can you hear that when I do that? No, I keep tapping my earphones and it's starting my Spotify, and I'm like, music. I think some people were thinking that obviously if you're going to lay rubber down, then that's the way that you're going to go. So I can't remember if he did go away on the first lap or not. But what I would say is, again, he's a clever guy, and Max is very like, again, if we're talking about fucking sleight of hand and whatever, like Max Verstappen is a fucking sledgehammer. Charles is a surgical knife. Now that goes against the fact that I think that there is a monkey on a unicycle clapping a tambourine like inside of his head. But when it comes to motor racing,
Car go fast.
Yeah, like,
go fast.
When it comes to motor racing, Charles has got like a very good racing brain, and look, all I can hope for tomorrow is a great race with incidents that allow the grid to be able to be bunched up a couple of times, because if Red Bull are able to just go off into the distance, and we've seen it can become a bit of a DRS train at Baku, which is why it's a bit of a fake circuit, I'm not gonna lie. Like without let me get your honest opinions. Like, take away the first lap, right? Take away the first lap. Does the sprint format allow for good racing? Take away the first lap. And even with the safety car, like there were obviously Lewis lost out, but I don't know.
You know what?
I think sprints are at the mercy of a driver making a mistake. I think it's not organic racing. It's going to be like, if somebody makes a mistake, then things change completely.
There's the point Mario's made that I was going to make. I think a mistake and a cheat. No, mate, no, apologise for that. A mistake and a cheeky red flag and a virtual safety car, those all helped, but it is artificial. Hence why I was going to point it back at you, Nash, and say define racing. Because if you had Peter Windsor on here, I was loving it, but I'm a part-time purist, part-time casual, right, as far as an F1 fan's concerned. So when I see that, I don't really care if it's DRS that makes the overtake stick, then whatever. I just want to see overtaking. Peter Windsor, if he was on here, I could hear him in my ear saying, "This is nonsense, Cameron. I don't want to see this. I want to see the best drivers in the best cars overtake each other as organically and frequently as possible. He doesn't want to see these DRS overtakes, but I think he's like one of the rare ones, right? I think a lot of people just want to see bang, 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 overtake, drive to survive, crash, pit stop, virtual safety car, red flag, raced it. You know what I mean? They just need to see that bit of action. And I think fair play to the FIA for delivering on that today. The race, I thought the race was sick, bruv. I really, really enjoyed that sprint shootout today. I definitely did. Definitely. I thought it was all right, man.
Did you like the shootout, both of you? Did you like the shootout more than the sprint or vice versa?
Oh, sorry, I'm getting them mixed out, bruv. These names are pissing me off now. I enjoyed the
shootout.
I enjoyed the shootout, but the sprint, just because of, I think more, you know what? Take away the George and Max interaction, and I would have probably fell asleep. I'll be honest with you. But that stuff is like for first and second. Like, mate, inject that into my veins each and every. That for me is F1. That for me is what F1 means, and that's what we've been lacking hitherto in the season thus far, if I'm honest. The more the merrier of that type of automated pugilism every single time.
Give me a sec. So, the shootout. So the new qualifying format where you have one tyre and you have to go round on that tyre and set a lap as fast as possible. I think I tweeted at some point that this is going to be like, I think it was like the first 12 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. And I was like, this is going to be like 9 minutes of dross and then the last minute is going to be fun. And I think that's pretty much what happened, other than obviously we had incidents where Logan Sargent stuck it in the wall. It reminded me, do you remember back in the day they used to have qualifying where you used to qualify with the fuel that you started. You used to start the race on the fuel that you qualified on. And so what you'd have is people just basically going round like for fucking
burning fuel off.
Burning fuel for like an hour.
You wouldn't refuel during the race?
No.
So you would have to go.
But they banned. There was a time when they banned refill. All sorts of funny rules that they used to tinker. But there was a time when they banned it, and I think that was at the same time that Nyasha was talking about that you would start the race on the same fuel. Verstappen.
So you go.
This is when they had refueling.
Yeah. Even then. Just Verstappen 94. They've tinkered with a couple of different things, man.
They've tried to tinker with qualifying cups. It kind of reminded me of that. I don't know how they're going to do it in Austria. The fucking traffic that is going to be in Austria with 20 cars on track around the shortest circuit on the grid is going to be chaos. But personally, I don't mind. I don't mind it. Look, I've always said what we got today was better than practice and qualifying.
Of course. That is a fact.
In that
undeniable.
Sense, it's improved the product. You can't complain. We would not be getting this hype about practice and qualifying. So even if it was artificial, even if it was a one-off incident of George going into Max and Max going off for George, whatever, it's creating the ability to have a spectacle. And for me, I will always want more to talk about, more to watch than less to talk about, less to watch. In my eyes, that's what Formula One's about, right? It's about drama.
Drama, bruv. We've got to move with the times, man. And
yes,
there's too many other sports that get it, that genuinely get it, the TikTok generation and the short attention spans, and it's all like NBA's like they're killing it, right? The highlights are mad, the press conferences are all rogue stuff. Same with the NFL.
Even look at cricket.
Oh, bro, they've brought it clean into 2023. Brought it clean with a bit of help from Barry Hurt, but they're just they get it more than we do. And it's not necessarily me because, again, part-time purist, part-time casual. It doesn't speak to my Genesis story coming into F1. But it's flipping. That was 1990s, big man. This is 2023. And we're talking of a new generation that have like the attention span of goldfish. So what are we doing? TikTok will swallow you up for 2 hours happily, and that's how long a race. That is true though, right? Then that's how long a race can last. If it's boring, then even me, part-time purist, part-time casual, I might be tempted to pick up a cheeky TikTok and have a flick through it rather than watch a race that's become a procession and Max Verstappen is going to win 100% of the time.
Look, sprint race is like 2020 cricket, 20 overs, and the race is like Test cricket, which is over 5 days, right? Like there's nothing wrong with having a shortened version of the race. Well, I think what needs to happen is that I've got some fucking IndyCar racing on my TV right now. If we had 20 fucking cars which were similar in pace and were able to follow and overtake each other, then this product is going to go to the fucking moon, bruv. But they're getting in their own way, and I think we're putting the cart before the horse, and hopefully this is the easiest thing to solve. Let's get the fucking format done. The next stage, 2026, these fucking regulations, if they do not make, and it's crazy I'm waiting for another 3 fucking years, but if these regulation changes they've got to make these cars smaller, they've got to make it easier to follow, and they've got to make it easier to overtake, and they've got to bring these cars into convergence. The problem is we might get to 25, same way we got to 21, and the cars will converge, and then they're gonna fucking change the rules again, and then they're gonna fucking spread out again, and it's just like, oh, this sport knows how to shoot itself in the foot, because 2021 we had a product that if they hadn't changed it, these sprint races would be going mad. The fucking race would be going mad. Like, anyway, but that's what I've got to say. Look, I could go on all day, but
Chaos.
I wanna save some meat for the main podcast. And look, whoever's listening to this, they're probably gonna be. I didn't even stop to put in adverts. Honestly, this fucking. You know what? We needed this. We all needed this. We had 4 weeks off, and it's great to come back to something that is fucking touch paper. Bang! Let's have something to talk about. So you can only be grateful.
Let's
Mario,
go.
you're eyeing me
Yes.
like you've got something to say. Do you have one more fact that you wanted to get off?
Not a fact, but I don't know if you guys want. I don't know if you guys want me to go through the starting grid for the race and then just quick comment on someone that we haven't talked about. For example, we haven't talked much about Sainz and his
Let's not do
terrible
that.
performance compared to Leclerc.
Science is going to get fucking donkey today. Don't even worry about that. Like,
This is what I mean. We'll go through them. We haven't said
no.
Alonso.
I mean in the main pod. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We'll main pod it because I don't want to take away some of the juice. I'm sure Tandy wants to talk about some of this shit as well. So,
Gotcha.
I don't want to take that off her plate whilst she is sunning herself in the London sun.
Let's go.
I will say though, McLaren did pretty well compared to
But
came back from the break pretty good.
Mario, be careful with that, bruv. They did do well in absolute terms.
Okay.
But again, this is very Mercedes-esque, right? How do you have one dude, again, to the tyre regulations that Nash has just spoken to, you have one dude who has no soft tyres left to compete in the final stage of the shootout quali.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
And he beats the guy in Piastri who does have a set of soft compound tyres. That, ladies and gents, is absolute chaos. That is God tier levels of incompetence.
And you know what? Yeah, I'll tell you now. Norris in that team is Verstappen in Red Bull. They do not have the balls. I don't think they had the balls to say to Norris, "You are gonna fucking tow Oscar." Because if he tows Oscar lost that by 0.032.
Yeah,
that is a fucking madness. Like, are you crazy? That is a toe. And, like, that's not even a toe. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. So why no one in that team has sat Lando Norris down and said, okay, you're not even going to be able to get better than 10th. Let's get you to fucking tow Oscar. Then if Oscar could have fucking qualified where was Albon? Albon was in fucking 8th or some shit. Like, oh no, actually, no, I think he was higher actually. I think Albon finished 9th. I think he started in 10th. So, like, but he would have been ahead of Alex Albon. He could have possibly got into the points. And I think, they're fucking up the base there. What I will say is, if you're talking about final points, Alex Albon is going to be up there for my star of the day. if he carries on like this. He said, I'm not a big fan of the sprint, if I'm truthful. There is 8-point positions available. We've got 4 top teams, and that's the top 8. Without a bit of carnage, I don't see how these top 8 cars will ever drop out the points. And this is the problem with the sprint format. I think they were talking about it on Sky, like, there needs to be some kind of incentive for the teams lower down, because otherwise, what the fuck are we even doing here? Like, I can't take extra softs into the fucking Q3, so I'm going to have to sacrifice myself to allow my other driver or whatever. I can't, I'm not going to qualify above 8th anyway. They're not doing reverse. At some point, they've got to try reverse grids. Some point. At some point, or they say that, you know, the front runners have got to start on hards or some shit. I don't know. Like, they've got to try and artificially create a situation where
there's tinkering.
There's tinkering that can happen, but it's got to happen. Otherwise, like Alex Albon said, we're artificially wanting chaos to ensue, but that normally involves danger, and you're playing with fire, wanting a red flag or a safety car, because that means that someone is in danger, basically.
But brother, what you just summarised there is the predicament that we find ourselves in F1 in 2023, whether in any format of racing, whether you're talking sprint, shoot, whatever it is, red flag and danger is like, mate, have you ever done one of those where you jump onto YouTube and just you know, Google will auto finish your search? If you type in F1, what do you think the next one, and space, what do you think the most searched for term is that comes after that word? Have a guess.
Lewis Hamilton.
Bang. Do you see it there, Mario? Behave yourself, Dasher. F1 Lewis Hamilton. That never makes sense. F1 crash. That's what people are looking for. That's what they want to watch, whether it's Zhou or Monza 2020. That's what mainstream people are drawn to. It's that there's something very visceral and primordial, right? Did they morbid almost? What happened? Did they die? The thumbnail just warrants a click. And so I think F1 has to not lean into it, but leverage that.
Look, they do. You look at Drive to Survive, and you know the trailer for Drive to Survive. Oh, mate. Silverstone crash fucking show. Right. You know, they fucking Roman Grosjean.
Oh, mate. An episode. They get it.
Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? They get it. Like, do you know what I mean? He's yeah. So I think that I don't doubt that. And almost they kind of pit these young men as gladiators going into the void, and you know, will they survive these hairy machines which they can barely control? And you know, I do get it, but I think basing the success of a format on that is. It is dangerous, but also it's short-sighted. Like, there's got to be better ways to do it than hoping that they crash. But then again, look, you know, with people with, you know, George Russell, he's just sending up the inside there. You know, would he have done that in the main race? Maybe not, to be honest. So who knows?
Just for the avoidance of doubt, Nash, what I'm not saying here that the FIA need to facilitate a format that leads to more crashing.
No.
Absolutely not. They need to safeguard and prioritise the safety and well-being of the drivers. Yeah. But the commercial rights holder and the likes of Sky Sports, in case they're getting there in the way that they promote and they're doing sexy trailers, and up next we're going to Spain or wherever, they're doing that more and more. But they're still not at the level of a Netflix in the way that they leverage these like blockbuster must-see opportunities, right? Make a big deal like that, George. Imagine if Netflix were on top of that George and Max thing. Dickhead. Oh my God, Sky Sports want to jump on that massively. Naomi and bloody Simon. And like, yeah, that was a bit like, it was so meek and like just a missed opportunity. What we have here is viral dynamite. Sky Sports won't even tweet it. Hence why we're up here almost doing their work for them and tweeting out it's true though, right? We're pushing out these viral bits that just go over, the opportunity just misses them. Just don't even bloody see. So I say all that to say that I think as far as the crashing, you're right, Nasha, we don't want more of that, but we want the guys that hold the purse strings in Formula One to leverage and meaningfully engage these opportunities, right? Because they're not doing it. They're not doing it as they should be.
No, they're not. and you're right. And you know what though? What this does? This little hors d'oeuvre, this little, what's it called? Little one bite. Aperitif, a Mars, whatever it's called. That is not what it's called. Oh my god. I'm gonna have to search it. Hold on. One bite meal.
Tapas?
No, not tapas. Kind of. No, all right, what's a one bite meal called? It's called, not a canapé. That's not right. Oh my god, someone's gonna be able to tell me. Amuse bouche. Thank you. And amuse bouche. God, I haven't watched MasterChef for ages. Jesus Christ. You can tell I'm making Formula One content now. I can't even remember food terms. We've had a tapas does work but then that's more small plates. We have had a little
small plates, not one bite.
Not
it's a
one
smaller
bite.
plate.
It's
You're
a
right.
small plate.
You're right.
We've had some small plates of action. We've had a little shootout. We've had a little race. We had some qualifying on Friday, and now tomorrow. And look, I love that. So I can't wait. I'm excited. Let's not worry about the grid, Mario. But do you have any last words?
No.
No?
Good.
Well, it's been a pleasure as always, Mario. I'll see you for the Miami Grand Prix preview. Cameron, any further words?
None at all. You can catch me, Cameron F1 on YouTube, Cameron F1 YT, causing all sorts of mayhem and mischief. And
can I go again?
Shenanigans. And shenanigans. And finally from me, bro, I just want to big up the good work that you, Tandy, Mario, Chris in the background are doing, because it's worthy of mention, and you guys don't get enough praise for the storm and the fantastic market-leading F1 content creation work that you are all doing. Full stop.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You know what? I want to give a clap to my motherfucking self. That's right. I'm taking all the praise that he was giving to everyone. Give it to me. Give it to me. It's mine. Mine. Mario, did you want to tell everyone your socials? I know I could see it in your face. You were like, oh my god, I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah. After Cameron said that, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mario_APM, and also go watch Cameron's new video on insane stunts that Red Bull has pulled out. It's a freaking great video. Whether you like Red Bull or not, the stunts are crazy.
I appreciate you, brother. Gracias.
Thank you so much. Guys, if you've got this far, make sure you're giving this video a like and a subscribe. Make sure if you're on Spotify, give us a 5-star review. If you're on Apple, make sure to leave a review underneath. And if you want an ad-free feed, make sure you're signing up to the Patreon, where we also got extra content and exclusive merch. And remember, if you like what you've seen here and you're in London, come and watch us live. We've got the Everyman Cinema in Broadgate, where you'll be able to watch Brazil 21 with us, plus a live podcast, plus popcorn, plus any drink that you want for free, just one complimentary. And loads of fellow F1 people there, loads of content creators coming down. It's going to be a real good show. In the words of my guy from 40-Year-Old Virgin, it's going to be real colourful. And what better way to leave it? Remember, guys, no matter what life throws at you, keep it on the black stuff. We'll see you after the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Take care. Look, mate, if you've got this far, clearly you like what we do. So here's a link to subscribe to the Quickstop F1 family. Give that a click. And here's another link to some more cool on our channel. Sorry, cool stuff. And remember, no matter what happens, keep it on the black stuff. Click the stuff. Click the links. Click the links. Click the links. There. They're there.